All right, we are live. So, welcome to Katie. And Katie is one of my A player clients. And why don't you introduce yourself and say what you do, Katie?
Hi everyone, it's lovely to be here on this Saturday morning. I hope you're having a good Saturday morning. So my name's Katie Ekanika and I'm a business coach. So I specifically work with ambitious female coaches and I help them to work with their perfect high paying clients by being really connected to themselves so that they can go out there and confidently connect to others. And I share with them a really powerful process to help them create high value offers and confidently sell and close and work with amazing clients.
You do. And what's your group called?
It's called the Rising Goddess Collective. Find high ticket clients, sell with confidence.
Amazing. So, Katie, you're here to talk about your experience of implementing the Warrior S framework. So, why don't we start with what were things like before we met in your business, and when was that? I know it was last year, but if you give us a sense of time as to when that was.
Yeah. So when we connected, I had kind of reached a lull in my business. I'd made a choice with the first lockdown to just take a step back. I had a number of clients and I'd got to a really great point in my business. But what I did was I decided to stop to focus on the children. But what it actually did was it really affected my confidence. And I think I kind of struggled in that time period and I questioned myself a lot. I kind of let my mindset slip and I stepped out of my power and I got into this space of fear that I think we can all get into quite easily, especially with what's been going on with. But what I did know was that I wanted to continue to scale my business and I knew that some of the things that I've done weren't ideal, but I had to do them at the time and I did them at the time. But I was in kind of a frustrated state. It was almost like I'd lost sense of who I was. I don't know if you've ever had that while you're building your business. I'd had an amazing success in my first year, but I'd kind of let that consistency drop. I'd let the consistency drop in terms of the implementation, but also focusing on looking after me and my mindset. So I was in a pretty shitty state when I came to you, wasn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I think that is so common. It happens to all of us. And for me, that's why I'm such a believer in the coaching model and always being coached. And I know for me, certainly, I will always have a business coach. But it's easy for any of us for that to happen, And I know you were consciously focusing on your kids, and it was a crazy time because it was lockdown 1 and so everything was going on. But what happens is that our mindset can slip as you experienced. And I find that when people are not really in their business with the finger on the pulse, having those conversations, having those sales conversations, working with clients, everything slips and the confidence goes down. And so that's what happened to you. So you came to work together and you implemented the Warrior S framework. You actually got very quick results. So speak about what happened next.
Yeah, so I think one of the things I really wanted to focus on was growing and widening my audience and growing my Facebook group, something that I was starting to do but hadn't quite got into momentum with. And I know as part of the Warrior S framework, I wanted to learn some new ways to really embed that and to grow my audience, but also to really, I don't know if you're at this point in your business now, I'm going to speak to you, like I always speak to people like they're literally there in front of me, but wherever it is you are, like one of the things that Julie did amazingly with me was to draw out that message in a really strong way. And I wanted to really up my game in terms of putting that out there, but having some conversations with potential new people. And it was almost like I had to remind myself of who I was and the power of the work that I did. So the whole like landing in my power and being back in that like fierce, determined, ambitious state, because that's naturally my natural state. But it's like all of that had gone away. So to kind of summarize what really happened, Julie just really got me back on track in terms of focusing on my mindset and really owning that and working on the areas that were tripping me up, because often we try and do it alone, and actually what helped was talking it through and having someone there to coach me through those thoughts, because often we can only get so far on our own. that was really powerful. But I got into activity. So although it felt slightly uncomfortable because I'd been out of it, I just thought, right, I really want to talk to people. So I got into very consistent activity. And at the time when we actually started working together, Julie, we were still in the summer holidays. So I still had the kids around quite a lot, like many of you probably do at the moment. So I only had pockets of time here and there. But I think what was so important for me was that I actually committed to that. And it was, you know, it wasn't always comfortable, but I was like, I actually want to have clients and get my business back into profit again. So I had a very strong intention. I kind of stepped back into that power of who I was and owned who I was. And I just decided that, like, failure wasn't an option, but it was that actually, rather than fearing, which we can often do, that I looked at, well, there's so much opportunity out there. It's like I'd lost the ability to see the opportunity. So I just went out there. I was even clearer on my message, which you helped me with, even clearer on the type of person I wanted to work with and what I was showing up for and what I wasn't. And I really used the framework to go out there and connect people and to start to build those relationships again. But I was very intentional that I wanted, you know, at least 2 to 3 high paying clients in each month. And I would say we've probably done that most months that we've been working together. I've filled my schedule back up. It's nearly fully booked. It's not quite yet, but by the end of this month, it will be. So it was a combination of like all of those things. And I think that's often what we're stuck with. Like, it's bringing it all back together again. And actually, like, what Julie does amazingly is help you position yourself that people come to you. So I've now got people starting to come to me more, which was something that I wanted. But I also have got clients and I've got money coming into my business. And I had like 2 13K weeks, I think one in October, one in November, because I just decided that was only what I was showing up for. Yeah. And there's going to be another one. There's going to be another one this month.
I love it. I love it, Katie. So much there. I mean, what I would say is that we can't do it in a vacuum. And it wasn't that you didn't know what to do. You've been in this game for a while and you've had some success before. So you knew the strategy, but none of us can do it in our own vacuum and we can't see our own stuff. And part of the role of a coach is to get you back in touch with your own power. And, you know, that's the first step, but also help you dial in the strategy, look at what is tweaking, where you need to be more consistent. But what you did so well, Katie, is that you took it and ran with it. And you decided, I'm going to stay in faith, not fear. And we did have some sessions where you'd show up and you'd say, oh, my mindset slipped again. And we would do some work and we'd get you back on track. But you were the one who went out and did the work. And as you say, you had 2 small kids at home, but you didn't use it as an excuse, which some people do, you know, and I know it's probably really hard with small kids, right? But what you did was you took the time you had and you made sure to fit the priorities, activities into that time. You committed to that and you made sure that you weren't disturbed as much as possible, that you can kids during that time, and you went and got the result, right? And so you created that, and then now we went into lockdown 3, and that sort of triggered you a little bit, didn't it? So speak about that.
Yeah, it did massively, and I was like, do you know what? I'm not signing up for 4 or 5 months again with a situation where I'm like, so many of us are doing it, where they're balancing. And I just decided that my business was in a point where I could actually, if the children had to be at home, that I would be able to help them and that I would be able to fit in what I'm doing now, because I'd embedded that system. And I think if you're in that place now where you've got the kids at home, I think I've been very lucky this time around because my husband, thanks the Lord, is a critical worker. So my little boy's been able to go to school. My little girl is still 2, so she's in a nursery. But I powerfully stated that I was actually available for this amazing work that I do, which is to help women thrive in their businesses this year. I was so excited about going full steam ahead, so I wasn't going to sign up for what was going on. Now I have been very blessed, and I know not everyone is in this circumstance, but what I do want to say to you is when I started working with Julie, I pulled all of this out of the bag with at least 2 months with them being around in the school holidays. But when I first set this business up, not last year, the year before, I had a baby who was very little. Arian was sort of 3, and he wasn't in full as he was sort of last year, in full like 3.5 days a week. I think I had about a day and a half, and I had Amara around most of the week as well. So when I got started, I set the intention that the one thing that I struggled with was overwhelm, which I know a lot of us do. And I hired a coach, and I got very focused. And I think that's the place to be in. You will always find the time if the desire is enough. We can find those pockets of time. And that's exactly what I had to do when I first started this business. I had to work on an evening. I had to work on a weekend. I had to ask for help from my mum. And I know some of us are maybe not in that place now, but ultimately I had an hour or two a day to be able to start to build this business. And I fitted things in like potential client calls on evenings. That's when I did them. And I managed right at the start to get a full schedule of clients doing that. So I think the point of what I'm saying is, if you're determined enough, you'll always find a way. And I think if you're stuck in fear and you don't know how, and you're overwhelmed and you think it's not working, that's the exact reason why you need a coach. The biggest mistake I made, and Julie just kind of said it, which is something that we can often get into, where we think, I don't need a coach anymore. I was like, I just need to go out there and do that. And that was like my ego talking, like, you can do this, you don't need it. And actually, I've always been very passionate about personal development. I've spent thousands and thousands on it. And, it was almost like I was took off. We can get taken off in a direction. And actually, the most profitable thing that you can do for your business is to have a coach.
Hallelujah. Yeah. She said it.
Isn't it?
Oh my God, we need to take that and put it in lights and flash it up to everyone, because I cannot tell you the amount of times that I see women, and I've been there too, and it is ego, but they keep themselves stuck because we think, because we're smart women and we're like, well, I know how to market, you and I are business coaches, so we know this. And yet I came to realize I will always need to be coached, always. So I'm going to repeat what you said. The most profitable thing you can do for your business is to have a coach. Love it.
100%. And what I love about Julie, and I'm very similar as well, is I'm a results-focused person. So I look at what I'm doing, and it's not about chaining yourself to your desk 7 hours a day. It's about looking at the activities that will get you clients, which is what I focus on. It's what Julie teaches as well. And I've learned some new stuff from Julie. But when you do that, and you do that consistently, you do start to see the results, but only if you're in that place of, I can, and this is possible. Because I'm going to be very honest and say, when we first spoke, I was like, I know I've got some of the money to get going with you, but I didn't have it all. And I know so many people in circumstances where the fear comes in, because they think, what if I can't? What if you can? Like, this is your business. And I think I said to myself, this is the only thing I want to do. I've spent the last 10 to 20 years building up to doing what I'm doing. So I want this to work. And I was speaking to one of my clients the other day, actually, and she was saying, instead of like the fear of it not working, like so many of us get in that fear, why not just say, you know what? Julie's got an amazing system. It works. Run with it. Because when you run with it, it's exactly what I did. It will come in, because the fear just the fear gets left behind, and you're in this place of passion, and like you're just going through. And then if you have a day where you're struggling, you reach out, and that's the amazingness of it.
And that's one of the things you are so good at, Katie, is keeping in contact and reaching out and letting me know, when you've got a win. And I love getting those messages. I just signed a client, yay, and we celebrate together. And then also when you need a bit of extra support, which is exactly what the coach is for. And I'm always saying to my clients, you will get the best results if you stay in touch with me, if you stay tuned in, and if you really do that, stay close. Let's work on this together. This support is available for you here. So what is your life like now? How's it different from before?
I think I just feel way more kind of empowered and trusting. And I think that's what we want the most, is that we enjoy the work that we're doing with our clients, but we know that there's certainty and expansion in the process that we follow. And one thing like I want to remind everyone is that you're always going to be growing as your business grows. There will always be something that you'll learn about yourself. There'll be something that maybe feels weird. Some things will feel amazing. And like, I feel 100% more amazing. I have got, way more money coming in. I'm hitting those 5K months more consistently. I've got more help. I've got a VA. I didn't have that. I've got a cleaner. I'm looking to hire a nanny in March to give me a bit of space. 2 days a week. And, one of the things I wanted to do is to do this and not have to work all day, every day, hence why I've got some of that support. And I'm getting to the point where when the world opens up, I can go on more amazing holidays. Like, I'm looking to go away, but I always take the 6-week holidays off. And I know now this year I can take them off with confidence. Whereas last year, because I've not really had my business going at some of the year, it was a bit like, ooh. So now I've got that certainty, just really enjoying what we're here to do, which is to help people. Like, it's been in that energy of helping and not being in that feeling kind of like uncertain and stuck. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's such a great feeling.
Yeah, having that certainty and knowing that, you have the system, and within that you've got the flexibility to take a holiday and be with your kids.
Yeah.
Your business isn't going to collapse, and you know how to bring in clients, and you've got that certainty that if I just do this thing, if I just turn this, I'll sign this many clients. So let's dig into the figures a little bit, because you mentioned 5K months there. I know you have had months too, and then you've had your 13K weeks. So we can talk about that a little bit, because people always want to know the specifics. They want to know the figures. And then if you know the number off the top of your head, how much is your Facebook group grown by as well? So if you know.
Yeah, of course. So in terms of like the 13K weeks, you want me to just, because most people think, like, how the hell does that just come in, right? And I think what it starts with is an intention that is what you're bringing in from that month, a very strong intention that that's what you want. You're putting it out there. I put it out there that there were 2 amazing people that wanted to work with me in my 6-month business coaching container, which is specifically focused on, growing the amount of clients you have and selling and closing and having high value offers and clarity. And I was like, I know the type of person that's going to want that. They're wanting to really up their business. So I got really specific about the energy of that person, who that person was, and that they were out there. Like, I didn't even question that. Then what I did was I broke down a plan that I knew that I could execute in terms of, ultimately, to get those clients, we want to have conversations with people. So I knew I needed to have a number of conversations. Now, the first month that I did it, I was in a very masculine energy, and I did a lot more to get those clients. So I had a lot more conversations. So this is a good example, isn't it? And but what I did say was that, you know what, no matter what, I know that's coming in. So even though I had conversations, and of course you're going to have a conversation and people will say no or they're not ready, I didn't hang on to any of it. I didn't take it personally. I didn't overanalyze it. What I did do is just make sure they had actually made an informed decision, and anything stopping them was really out there, so that I'd spoken the truth to help them see that, and they could see that too. So I'd closed that off, and ultimately, if they were someone that I could follow up with, I'd have that clarity. I think what I did as well was just really own who I was being. So knowing that I was worthy of having those clients, but knowing that I'm an expert in this area. I'm an expert in selling and high ticket. I've worked in this industry for 7 years. I really almost had to remind myself, because this is what I'd lost, was that those beliefs of why you're able to, and I really held on to that. And I think the other thing that's really important in having those weeks is that I was consistent for 2 months leading up to that. So I think we've been working together for a couple of weeks, and I signed a client for 5K. Then the next month it was the 13K month. But what I did do was that I didn't give up hope. And I know this can happen. I was actually reading a post last night where we're doing everything. We feel like we're in the right space. We're in the right energy. We're doing all the stuff. You have to trust as well that it's coming through.
Yes.
But that particular month, I was like, is the month. And that was a different energy to the month prior. It was just owning, like it is really the connection to self that did it. But I planned my time, I owned my time, because again, even though I had childcare, I don't have it 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And I really looked at the plots of time that I had to do the actions that had the conversations coming in, whether that be reaching out to connect personally with someone in a message, or whether it be, I was doing my live. So we got clear on a really engaging marketing plan for me to put my message out there. So I know it's kind of a long summary and such, but the month after, when I did it, and I did exactly the same thing, I showed up, I had my plan, I had my intention just the same. But what I did say to myself was, I don't want it to feel like I'm having as many conversations, because I know one of my skills is if I'm on the phone and I'm in that connected power, and I've put that message out there, but I'm not attached to it, the right people always come through. Yeah. And I had 2 conversations that month, and I had 2 clients for my programs, 2 clients that were paying me 6K each, maybe slightly more because it was 13. Anyway, just over that anyway. But yeah, that was so much more like feminine and allowing, whether the month prior there was a lot more masculine. And I think the learning here is to have a balance of the 2, because you have to take the action, but you also have to know it's coming in too, and you're not so hold on tight that this has to happen. Like, if I don't get a client, the world's going to end. And like, you're making the client and the money the holy grail. And I think that's often where we can become disillusioned when we see these 5K, 10K months, because what we really want to do is just take the action, enjoy it, and have it come through. And I think the best way to do that is just being connected to you and the power of what you do, and just go out there and don't have this huge attachment to it, because the right stuff will always come through. Hopefully all of that kind of goes through it.
You put it beautifully. And yeah, the way I summarize that is the difference between kind of white knuckling it, which you can do, very masculine energy, and it's all about the activity, and then feminine energy that we bring in and do business like a woman. And there's following kind of, you still took the actions, let's be clear on that. It wasn't nothing, and all the previous actions you'd taken also built up to that, because there were people in your timeline there, or your pipeline, there were people coming in. But that month you kind of took your hands off the steering wheel and you just let it go. And I love that you talked about intentions, and the way you set intentions is so powerful, Katie. I must pick your brain about that at some day. And I have my own way of doing that, and I know what you mean. I know that when you set an intention, you do it a certain way, and I guess you let it go, and then it just comes in. But I know we're time limited today. So amazing. I think this is going to be really helpful for people. So what do you think, what would you say to anyone who's considering Fierce Feminine and Free and they're sitting on the fence?
Yeah, don't sit on the fence, because if this is what you want to do and you're struggling in any way, shape or form, this process and the program is going to get you into action, and that your success is inevitable when you take action and you iron out what you're stuck on. So you can either sit alone watching and wasting another month, another 2 months, or say, right, okay, this is where I need to be held. This is what I need to learn. This is the space I need to expand in, and really take action, because action from the right place creates results. And it's having a process that connects you to your people, and so you can ultimately bring them through. And I think, the process that you have, Julie, that's what it's focused on. So if you want results and you want clients and you want money coming in, you can either go alone and get more frustrated, or you can do it and say, well, I'm doing this. It makes sense. And that's what I would say. Don't delay.
Amazing. And what do you think is different about the process, the Warrior S framework, from a lot of the stuff that's out there? Because I see so many people coming in and they've tried all these different things and they've done a lot of programs and it's not working. So what do you think is different about it?
I think it's one, having a process that you can put your mark on and that you can choose, in terms of like having a place where you can bring the right people into your world. And also it focuses on the most important things around that high touch connection. So actually, you know, being that fierce, amazing female and owning who you are first. And that is so important, but connecting that to, you know, if you're wanting a higher value client or a consistent amount of clients, it's marrying that personal high touch connection, which has just been lost, I think, a lot in the world of like high ticket and putting yourself out there. You can be focusing on so many other ways to get clients, and you need the marrying of connecting, but also like mastering your message, which you do amazingly, Julie, and bringing the two together, but only doing what creates results. Because I see a lot of women spending lots of time on things that don't work. Yes. Like going off in different directions that think are going to close the gap and bring the clients, like going out to do ads, trying to build a complicated funnel, spending loads of time creating free stuff, which to a degree, free stuff is good, but you can do a lot from just connecting with people and have a client come through from that. Just by being.
It has to be strategic. It's I love that you said that. It's a big part of what I teach, and just that connection. You know, I think so often, and I know we need to finish in a minute because you have a client and look after. I know so often people are almost afraid of the connection piece, and I've certainly been there in the past. Actually, you know, business is built on relationships, and it doesn't have to feel icky. It can feel really nurturing and, you know, really authentic to connect with people. And you don't need to go and waste a bunch of time creating a fancy funnel or faffing about with your about page on your website. You can just go and get a client the way that we teach, right? So
and often the reason why we don't is because we have a fear or we have a story or a belief of that, and it's repositioning that from a place of just take the pressure off. You're not going to get a client at this stage. You're connecting to someone because you're someone who can help. And if you don't do that and you don't ask the questions, how do people even know you exist? And actually that intention is way more important, because if you go to it feeling, I don't want to be pushy, I don't want to be all of these things, and I'll just do all of this because that makes it easier, it doesn't really help anyone. It's our stuff. A lot of the time, the reason we don't want to connect is our stuff, and that's not what we're here to do. So, yes, that's something definitely, Julie.
You need to work with a coach like Katie or like me, because we can't see our own stuff. We can't. That's why I work with a coach, because I have my own stuff. Katie has her own stuff. We get coached for support. So amazing, Katie. We'll wrap it up now. Just remind people of your group again, in case anyone would like to come and check you out.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, everyone. And if like you've any questions or anything on what we've been talking about, I know we'll pop back into the comments and answer them, because I can't see them at the moment. But my group's the Rising Goddess Collective. Find high ticket clients, sell with confidence. And so thank you so much, everyone.
It's such a pleasure, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. I know it's going to be really, really valuable to a lot of people, and you're so fun to work with. So
thank you too.
See what you create this year. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.
Bye.